what are some of the things businesses should be mindful of or perhaps prepare for in the lead up to Election Day?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of different things. I would say there's probably three things that are most top of mind right now or should be for business leaders. There's the heightened security, right? We've seen 2 assassination attempts on the former president. We've seen both presidential campaigns with elevated security around their events, both the presidential candidates and the vice presidential candidates. We've, of course, also seen in recent weeks poll workers and election sites that have received threats. We've had at least a few dozen in recent weeks, some of those causing evacuations. We've also got a third of campaign and election workers who have said that they've experienced some sort of harassment or threat as well. So there's definitely that heightened sense of security. Beyond that, demonstration activity, right? We've seen a lot of this already. My team pays really close attention when it comes to demonstrations. And then I think just the third one that I would mention is general business continuity disruptions, right? When we have a country with a lot of events on the calendar leading up to the general election, when we think about all the different election events, not only at the national level, but at the local level too, there is a lot of business disruption that could potentially happen. I'm sure if you're in any one of the cities that has had one of the major events, like the RNC or the DNC, there's the major traffic disruptions too. So a lot of that are things that I think businesses should just keep in mind as we draw closer to Election Day.
How concerned should businesses be about potential election-related disruptions to their local communities?
Yeah, I think, I would say there should always be a level of concern, mostly because I think that drives us into the force of preparedness, right? If we express some concern and we're wrapping our heads around some potential impacts, whether they're physical and tangible, whether they're things that could potentially happen in and around office locations, those are the things that are going to drive us to have those thought-provoking conversations. Are we prepared potentially for demonstrations to break out in certain areas? Are we prepared for a workplace where there may be personnel disputes? Are we prepared for different ramifications post-election, not only right after the election, but really in the weeks and months after as well, as we think about different issues that are happening globally and how each candidate potentially thinks about those as well.
Given all the potential risks that your team is seeing out there, how can businesses really effectively mitigate some of those risks that are associated with things like demonstrations and civil unrest?
Yeah, knowing ahead of time is really great. When I think about a lot of the work that my team does, a lot of the work that they're doing is on kinetic activity, things that are happening in the moment right now, right? The booms, bangs, and pops. When we think about demonstration activity, we generally have a bit of a curve there. More often than not, we can predict some of this because many groups that plan demonstrations plan, right? They put them out ahead of time. We know that there might be people that are, gathering in certain locations and where, sometimes even how many, or if there's going to be counter demonstrations. So I think in this case, knowledge is power. Being able to understand and identify those ahead of time and really even understanding whether they're near your facilities or your assets or your employees, that becomes paramount and is really a great thing in these situations when you can have a little bit of advance notice. And then, I think just expecting peace, right? Because in most situations, we do have very peaceful outcomes. People demonstrate, they want to hear their voices, they want to stand behind a certain platform, a candidate, an issue. Sometimes things do turn violent. So I think preparing for that violence, even though we're expecting things to be peaceful, right, that can be really paramount as well. And again, drive some of those conversations that can really help with preparedness.